What's going on, everyone? Fulton here, and it is officially another year in the books, everyone. Can you believe it? We have a lot of music to talk about, but there is certainly a lot that was left off. There's just not enough time these days to get through everything. But these are just the ones that really garnered a lot of my attention. As you get older, you do have your old faithfuls that you return to if they keep returning at a certain standard that you just constantly enjoy. I'm sorry if this is a little typical for a lot of the top entries, but it is what it is. My honorable mentions list does include a lot of great names that otherwise would have made it onto these lists. Thank you so much for those who anticipate this video. It really makes it worthwhile, and it's something that I always get excited about. So without further ado, let's get into this list and have a good time. And kicking things off at the 30 spot, we actually have a tie. These were very hard for me to separate, but they do have a lot in common. The first of which is the release of Ray Alder's What the Water Wants, and the second release from this project, Archmatheos with Winter Ethereal. Now obviously we didn't get a new Fates Warning record this year, but we did get two releases from three of that group's members. One with the modern vocalist and one with their original vocalist. It just goes to show why this band was so influential when they first came onto the scene, and they're not out of ideas yet. These were both very wonderful releases, and hopefully someday down the line we'll get a new Fates Warning record. Definitely check this out if you're a fan. Coming in at the 29 spot is Baroness with Gold and Grey. Now, to be honest, this almost didn't even make the list, but artistically, this was a very strong record. I loved the ideas and I loved what the sentiment of this record was. Honestly, it's a bit of a hard listen for me in terms of just how the record sounds. It's a little abrasive to my ears, so some of my listening experiences were limited. I found that listening to this with headphones on was a bit difficult to do and more rather suited for like a hi-fi stereo. It certainly has an edge. I feel like they could have been portrayed in a better light, but either way, it's still a brilliant record from start to finish. Coming in at number 28 is Alcest with Spiritual Instinct. The more I listened to this record, I liked it more and more. It was a very safe release, but it did have some evolutionary standpoints from it in terms of a business card perspective, where it had variety, but it didn't overstay its welcome. And honestly, it was captivating. Over some repeated listens, I gotta say, this one sold me. At number 27, this was such a surprise to have stumbled upon. I almost would have overlooked this had I not been browsing the internet that day, I guess. Cloudkicker with Unending. Ben Sharp in the Cloudkicker project was sort of one of those hidden trinkets of the internet when this was first being discovered and passed around. Melodic polyrhythmic bliss is generally what I consider this project. But a few years ago, he had sort of taken a personal hiatus from creating music because he got a dream job as a airline pilot, I believe, which a lot of the music is inspired by. Just listen to the past albums to understand that. This I consider another business card sort of project where it really shows all the sides of what this artist has to offer, with each track being about a different tempo and really different musical reflection. And yeah, I think if you haven't checked them out yet, you should definitely do so. At number 26, we have Carbomb with Mordial. And I remember when this band finally came back onto the scene, the metal underground was so excited for their return. They continue to just show that they're, well, I'm not really quite sure how to explain this. They're rhythmic illusions and just hilarious riffage. It's not meant to be funny, but it is so complicated and so out there that you're just shaking your head like, how does anyone think of something like this? There's a lot of content found on this disc that really ties a lot of the insanity together, and I think it's a worthwhile listen if you're into that sort of rhythmic illusion type of music. Coming in at number 25 is Allegiant with Apoptosis. Now, we were just talking about these guys a few years ago with their last release. Although there was some progression on this effort, I feel like they were trying to follow the formula of their last record, Proponents for Sentience. These guys are just fantastic musicians, and I really feel like they are becoming sort of like what Between the Buried and Me was doing a few years back. And it just shows that the future for progressive technical metal is in very good hands. Coming in at number 24 is Insomnium with Heart Like a Grave. Insomnium are just a very consistent band, very powerful, and still just staying true to their melodic death metal sound. It's something that seems to be very dated, but a band like Insomnium are just veterans of it, and they know how to keep it interesting. And although this does have a lot of polish on it, it still has that power that we've always loved from this group. Still a bit of a far cry from Winter's Gate, but that was some big shoes to fill. This one is still worth your time to check out. Switching gears a bit, we have Felix Martin with Caracas. I'm going to try my best with that one. Virtuoso guitar playing is certainly in good hands as well. This guy has like a custom double neck with extended range fretboards, and he plays it like double hand technique. He's doing counterpoint with himself, and this is something you have to kind of see and hear to believe. I love that it's just one person, and it's truly remarkable and very human. Again, if you're a guitar player and you haven't yet seen this sort of world before, I tap yourself into it and see where your mind takes you. Coming in at number 2 is Jakob Suterki with Nothing Lasts, Nothing's Lost. Now, we were just talking about Jakob's band Disperse not too long ago, who actually had Album of the Year with Disperse's Forward. And recently we have seen Jakob release a slew of solo records, which has taken a lot more of an atmospheric and cleaner tone. So you got your chill and vaporwave kind of being mixed in with some really chilled out guitar lines, and has made a hybrid, again, sort of like what we were talking about with Disperses Forward, but in a more relaxed approach. Some of the guitar leads that are on this album are just truly unreal. What a fantastic player. Coming in at number 21 is Nightmare Scenario with Beyond What Is Real. Now, just talking about Between the Buried and Me, we have one of their members, Dan Briggs, with yet another side project. I've talked about a lot of his side projects on this channel, but this one is all him. Really tapping into a lot of his love for early progressive rock, King Crimson, Pink Floyd, and this is sort of a full long-running piece broken up into multiple parts. It's a little out there at times. A lot of parts do have some great homages to some of the greats that, fans of the genre will no doubt enjoy. This guy has a lot of ideas just outside of creating some of the best bass parts in prog metal today. Coming in at number 20 is the first of a few Boston and New England bands that I'm going to be talking about. This is going to be Bent Knee with You Know What They Mean. Courtney's vocals are just insane. It's very emotionally captivating and just downright impressive. It's an avant-garde thrill ride. It's not your typical cut and paste job. It's very unpredictable, and it's a ride worthy of taking if you are into that sort of stuff. Coming in at number 19 is the Aristocrats with You Know What. At least that's just how I can hear them saying it. This is another great release from the trio of virtuosos, Brian Beller, Marco Miniman, and Guthrie Govan. It's always very interesting to know they're coming out with new material. And this is a group where we know individually they can shred and really show off, but the Aristocrats are really about the songs. They really do create some interesting atmospheres and interesting comical musical scenarios. And it is always a treat every single time they release a record. Coming in at number 18 is Soen with Lotus. I think it might even be the first time we're talking about them. They've released some terrific records in the past, and although I don't think this is their strongest record, I think this is probably their most accessible and their most polished record. With kind of getting their start being a glorified Tool homage band, they have really found their identity as to what really makes them great, and they highlighted those on this record. Coming in at number 17 is Leprous with Pitfalls. Now, when I knew this record was coming out, there was a lot of anticipation behind it because they are just one of those bands where you don't know what you're going to get. And again, we got something completely different. Probably the most melodic content we have found from the band, and also the biggest production. A lot of these songs were more about creating the atmospheres and having their vocalist really take the helm and take the wheel. The first listen really kind of threw me for a loop, but the more and more I gave this record a chance, although I don't believe it's their strongest, it's different, and I'm glad it's different. Thank you very much for this great release, guys. Coming in at number 16 is Periphery with 4, Hail Stan. You know, this band really doesn't need any introduction at this point, but you got to give them props for their determination and their longevity. You know, when they came onto the scene, they really knew what they wanted to do, and they're still doing it. They really just write music that they want to write and titles that they want to do, and they don't care what anyone else thinks, and that's great. But it really just shows a lot of maturity with them just becoming holistic songwriters as a group. Yeah, this is a powerful release. Seemed to have a lot of focus on what they really wanted to achieve with it, so great job, guys. Coming in at number 15, we have another Boston band. This is Wilderun with The Veil of Imagination. Holy crap. These guys really have taken the kind of atmospheric, folk, progressive metal into more of a storytelling vehicle. This is a brilliantly arranged record, bookended as a sort of narrative, and it just truly builds and builds. From the second you put this on to its final climax, you are at the edge of your seat of what each song is going to bring. I'm not going to say any more than that. All I'll say is it is an adventure that you cannot stop halfway. You need to listen to this record from start to finish to really understand what I am talking about. Number 14, I've talked about this gentleman more than once on this channel, and I will talk about him once again. It's Nick Johnston with Wide Eyes in the Dark. Again, one of my favorite modern day guitar players. His sense of feel and melodic control on the instrument. It just shows that the pure human touch is really at the heart of music at the end of the day. And this record really shows a lot of melodic progression, showing a lot more of electronics and pianos and bigger orchestration to make these songs really come to life. But it seems like with each release, everything becomes more focused on a long play format rather than just individual songs. And I'm all for it. Nick, keep doing what you're doing. Amazing stuff, brother. Coming in at number 13, the second time we're going to be talking about this band. This is Tiny Moving Parts with actually 2 releases from this year. So it's a full length called Breathe, and then an EP called For the Sake of Brevity. I'm going to lean more towards the full length. Again, we talked about the band last year, I believe, and this is just another fun, anthemic, Midwestern emo punk record. With fantastic guitar to boot. Dylan is an incredible guitar player with a lot of melodic control. Always an enjoyable listen. Not too long of a record, and it's just one that you can just continue to spin and spin and spin, and yeah, really make a lot of great memories with it. Coming in at number 12 is another New England band. We're out of Boston slightly and we're going to New Jersey, but still another great New England project. This is Thank You Scientist with Terraformer. Now, holy crap, the response to this record from what I have seen is incredible. I'm super stoked for those guys, and well deserved. This really took everything this band has done up until this point and just blew it out of proportion in all the best ways possible. It's why you love progressive music. They are put together in a way and performed in a way where it's very sincere, and it really works to make these songs great. The arrangements are very bizarre, a lot of left turns and a lot of virtuosity with pop vocal sensibilities, but it all works. None of it seems too excessive, and it's just all the more impressive as a result. Coming in at number 11 is a solo release from one of the leading progressive bands today. This is Richard Henschel with The Cocoon. Now, we've talked about Haken several times on this channel, but their record's making it very high in these top lists. This is another one of those musical journeys with a lot of variation and a lot of musical guests, some being Ben Levin from Bent Knee and David Maximichik. A lot of these members have toured together in some way, shape, or form, and now they're making music together, and this is fantastic. It even has a little bit from Jordan Rudess on one of these tracks. This one had all the reasons to be great, and it actually is, so go check this one out if you haven't. And we've made it to the top 10. This is where it's going to get very interesting. So, at number 10, this one, you want to talk about a musical experience. This is Brian Beller with Scenes from the Flood. Now, we were just talking about the Aristocrats. Now, this is Brian Beller, their bassist, and his solo record. And this is a double disc adventure with a lot of different themes in it. This one really proved what he can do as a bass player, a composer, and an arranger. There's a lot of special guests on this record, really making this thing come to life, much in the way where we were talking about the Jason Becker record Triumphant Hearts just last year, where a lot of collective musicians come together to make those music ideas come to life. There's a lot of music here. It's over 88 minutes of music over 2 records, but just pure musicianship at its core. Just a mind-blowing record. And I feel like the rest of this list might be no surprise to anyone who knows me personally, but we're still going to run through it anyway. We have the Neil Morse Band with The Great Adventure. So this is the sequel to the previous double disc record, The Similitude of a Dream. That record was just an instant classic. That one I could not stop listening to that calendar year. And this is the sequel, which is also another double disc. It does follow in a lot of the same format, even some of the same musical motifs. But even with that said, this is a great companion piece, but it does unfortunately not beat out the magnitude that the Similitude of a Dream was. And nonetheless, it's still top 10 worthy for me personally. So once again, great job, Neil Morse. Coming full circle with number 8, we have, I think, at the lowest spot I've ever put this group, Dream Theater with Distance Over Time. I did like the return to form. After The Astonishing, they really slimmed it down. This album really shows them going back to kind of their original mission statement with making complicated music, but not having it overstay its welcome. This was a very well-polished record, but it still showcases the band on top of their game. You know, I really still enjoy this group even after all these years, so keep it up, guys. And yeah, Mangini killed it on this one, gotta say. Coming in at number 7 is Devin Townsend with Empath. And the statement on this one was quite large. If we're going to talk about music being like a layer cake, this is a wedding cake that'll reach the sky with more layers than you can really appreciate at that point. It's a lot. And even he said it's a lot. Just listen to Singularity to understand what I mean by that. Devin, you're a crazy maniacal musical genius. Just give yourself a bit of a break next time. Coming in at number 6, another very interesting record. This is Opeth with Incauda Venenum. This one really kind of brought back what makes Opeth truly great. And what makes this one a truly interesting experience is that one of the records is in Swedish. There was definitely a mood and musical identity to this record, not just in how the record was arranged with the track listing, but how the songs were musically structured. Some very dynamic and moving pieces on some of these songs, and this really got them back on track for me, so I'm super stoked on this one. Coming in at number 5 is Flying Colors with Third Degree. Now, this is only the 3rd time we're talking about this band, but they've consistently broke the top 5 each and every time they come out with a record. And this continues to be a band that brings a lot of memories for me. This is just a group that has a very nice sound. It has a lot of great personal meaning. I play this group a lot with my mom. We have a lot of great memories listening to them and stuff like that. And it harkens back to a lot of great bands that I learned from my parents. It's one of those kind of retrospective sort of sounds for me. This is another great record from the band and one of the strongest outputs from Mike in recent years. So this is fantastic. Coming in at number 4 is Tool Fear Inoculum. Y'all knew that this had to be here somewhere. Was the record great? Yes, it was. Was it perfect? No. Did I like it? Yes. That's kind of all we need to say about it, but you know, I really did enjoy the difference in musical identity. And you know, I really feel like this has some of their strongest stuff to date. And Adam Jones' guitar playing really took it to a next level on this record, and I feel he had the most fun. Not to mention Danny Carey's drumming is probably drum performance of the year worthy on this record. So Fear Inoculum, very happy with this release. Alright, now as we get into this top 3, I gotta be a little bit real with you all. This was essentially impossible for me to choose between these 3. It really depended on the day of the week. All 3 of these are pretty deserving of the number 1 spot, and it is a war amongst friends. So I really did not want to choose any one over the other. So although I will be obviously addressing them individually, they are all winners in my book. So to begin this 3-way tie, we're going to be once again talking about my friends in Astronaut with their self-titled record, second on Blood Music Records. I gotta say, guys, I am so super proud of you, and I am amazed at the recognition that you have been receiving. A tour with Coheed and Cambria, come on, that was always your dream. Yeah, this is the epitome of how dreams can really come to life. Incredible record, so totally different than the last one. Air was already a masterpiece, and this is just something else, guys. This is a very bold statement to make it a self-titled record. It's tighter, it's more focused, the production is even more grandiose. You're making the world a better place with this music in it. Second up in this three-way tie, we have Moontooth with Crux. Now, we talked about this band a few years ago, but man, did they return with a groundbreaking record. Even Rolling Stone put these guys on their list, and that is unbelievable. And I gotta be real, when it came to narrowing this down, I listened to this record a lot this year. So many times this year. But honestly, either one of these could have been number one. It was just so hard to choose. This is a band from New York that is on the rise. Unbelievable energy, unbelievable playing, great songs, great performance, no bullshit, and just totally legitimate. Guys, if you haven't heard of Moontooth and this record Crux, do yourself a favor and throw this on. Unbelievable stuff. And to close off this 2019 list, I'll probably call this the most significant release that I got to enjoy this year, and I am so proud of my friends in this band. We've talked about this group before, but at least in this light, it'll be illuminated a little bit brighter. And this is Pathogenic with their self-titled release. Now, over the 12 years that I've known some of the members of this band, I've watched them grow from just music students to world class. They put in the hours, and they've certainly put in the time and the effort into crafting a record that is worthy of being a self-titled effort. This is just impressive on so many levels. Not only sonically is it incredible, but musically, vocally, it is a true statement of what hard work will get you if you put in the time. And I am truly blown away by this. Thank you so much, guys, and if you're in the New England area and you haven't yet checked out a Pathogenic show, it is a musical brutal assault. And if you haven't yet checked out Pathogenic and you enjoy brutal, progressive death metal, please check this out. This band is no joke. And that's all she wrote, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this list and this year-end video. As always, please post your list in the comments or even comment about anything that I've talked about in this video. Hope you all have a great rest of the year. Happy New Year, happy 2020, and look forward to seeing what's in store in the next year and decade. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.